Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. In this video, I'm going to rate my artist grade watercolors from best to worst, in my opinion. Now, keep in mind, this is subjective. This is my opinion. Every set of paint in this, every brand of paint in the stack is a decent brand of paint. And I don't want anyone to be offended if their brand of paint is left out or their brand of paint is further on down the list than what I rate it as. This is personally my opinion and just a bit of fun. And it might actually help you look at your supplies with new eyes, because something I have found is that if I hear of another artist who really loves like a brand of paint or a certain art supply that I didn't like in the past, it makes me want to give it another chance. So hopefully that's what this will do to you. And if you would like a similar video done on my student grade paints rated best to worst, you can let me know and I will put that together as well, because there may be some sets of paints, some brands of paints in my that I consider student range that you might consider artist range, and because there are a lot of ones that are kind of on the fringe, they could go either way, but these are going to be what I consider to be artist range. I'm not doing handmade paints just because I think that gets a little too subjective, and so this is kind of major brand type mass market paints. So I hope you find this useful. We're going to start off with my favorite. Right up first, my favorite artist grade watercolor is M. Graham. I've been using them since the late 90s. I think since I was first aware of them. And they were the first purchase I made as artist grade paint. And I bought all of these tubes, or I think I bought all these tubes. I might have actually added a few more colors that aren't on this swatch since then, but the thing I really loved about M. Graham paints was they were so vibrant, they were very cost effective, and they've gotten more expensive now, but when I was able to buy them, they were 40% off at my local art store, and then I asked how much if I buy everything except for like the grays and blacks and whites, and I got a really good deal on them. So I've continued to use some of those original paints. I have replaced many of those colors. Even when they've gone through pigment changes over the years, I never felt there was a loss of quality. So M. Graham has a #1 spot. They are USA made, and they're just a fantastic paint and a fantastic company. So that is #1 on my list. #2 on my favorite watercolors list are Core, and this is another American-made company. These are Core by, maybe I should just push this stack out of the way and just take one at a time. Core by Golden. And the thing I really love about these paints is that they're very vibrant, very pigmented. A little brush load goes a long way. They use Aquazol as a binder instead of gum arabic, which makes, I feel like you just get more pigment in the bottle, in the tube. And I started off with a set of 6 high chroma colors, which is that's what I recommend anybody looking to try these paints go for, is the 6 high chroma colors. They come in a tin. I think it's about under $30, and if you don't like those, I would just say find another paint brand. But if you love those, then I would say start building up your collection. The colors that are supposed to granulate do, other colors are smooth. They're just vibrant and beautiful, and they move a lot in the water. So if you like a very movable paint, I would highly recommend Core by Golden. I have to look on the back side of these because I used to have these in a binder, but then I changed my storage so that I had them in I keep them in a library book box like this from Dollar Tree. It's just a lot easier to get to them that way. So the next up, we have another favorite of mine, which I don't hear talked about very much, and that is Rembrandt. I was able to pick up the set of 48 for a song on Amazon a few years ago. I think I paid $134 for the 48 set, and I did not regret that one single bit. These are beautiful paints, very traditional, very vibrant. The pans are so generously filled. They're half pans, but they are domed over there. They have so much paint in them. I found the tin to be a high quality, but I mean, the paint's layered up beautifully. They're great for glazing. They have a decent amount of movement. You got a nice assortment of granulating colors and standard colors. This set of 48 was just wonderful. Super vibrant, super transparent. Just gorgeous paints, and I thought they were very good value for money. And I have to say, probably part of my bias for these first few paints that I'm going for was that they were great value, and I wasn't afraid to use them because they were such a great value. I need to get these out again. These are so fantastic. And keep in mind that I'll tell you when I bought these different things, because sometimes quality does change over the years. I haven't noticed a change in quality in Core or M. Graham. Core is a pretty new company. Rembrandt, I've used their tubes as well. Their tubes are great too. You can go either format you want. I haven't bought these in a few years, but I have got the some tubes and some pans, and they're just phenomenal paints. I think they're wonderful. The next one is a little bit different. This is the Dr. P.H. Martin Hydrus watercolors. They come in a dropper bottle like ink, and they are liquid watercolor, and they're just extremely vibrant and absolutely gorgeous. And if you saw the review I did of Regina's watercolors, this is a swatch for Regina's watercolors. She makes her watercolors that you can buy on Etsy with the Dr. P.H. Martin Hydrus paints, and so she makes them in a format so that you can actually have them in a pan and you can re-wet them. Because one thing I will say, the only con of the Dr. P.H. Martin Hydrus, because they're light fast, they're made with your good artist quality pigments. The only downside to these paints is once you put them out on a palette and they dry, when you go to re-wet them, they don't re-wet well. They'll re-wet, but they'll get this kind of grittiness to them, which is not very nice. But if you wanted some Dr. P.H. Martin colors, now she is limited to what she offers, but like the original 12 pigments, she does offer in half pans and some smaller sizes. So if you love Dr. P.H. Martin Hydrus, but you don't use it because you don't want to deal with the water, the dropper bottles, Regina's watercolors on Etsy makes a pan form of them. They are very sticky, but their color payoff is great. I wouldn't notice the difference between re-wetting their half pans and using Dr. P.H. Martin's from the tube, but they only are using the first 12 colors. So that's just something to know, unless they've changed things. They do offer a lot of convenience colors with those, but their base is off the main 12 colors. So I just wanted to add that as a brief aside, but I have to say that Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus watercolors are just fantastic. As long as you just take out what you need for a setting and don't re-wet it. I think if you have hard water too, which we do up here in my neck of the woods, it makes it even more gritty when you re-wet them. Oh, this is crooked. That's going to bother somebody. It kind of bothers me. The next up for my faves would actually be, surprisingly, most of the Paul Reubens watercolors. I really have been pleasantly surprised by this line of paint. They are affordable. The quality is very high. They are a Chinese-made paint. So actually, our first, except for Rembrandt, I think Rembrandt might be made in Italy. Oh, I'm not sure. But 3 out of the top 4 there were USA-made paints. This paint is made in China. It is a beautiful paint, though. I bought the set of 48 half pans after I'd been given the set of 24 standard pans from Paul Reubens a few years ago, and the metallics, and I thought they were fantastic. And then I just kept waiting around for a sale on the 48 set, and when it happened, I ordered it. And I had a question on one of the pans. I thought that maybe I had one with the wrong wrapper on it, and I contacted them, and they sent me out a new pan, no questions asked. And I ordered them as a regular person. I didn't say, "Do you know who I am?" I just like emailed them from the Amazon like seller form saying, "I think I got a watercolor pan that was wrapped wrong." And like, "Okay, what one do you need a replacement for?" They sent me a half pan, no questions asked. And they sent me an extra one for my trouble. So very good company. They're good company to work with as far as like being a YouTuber, because they're very generous, but they're also excellent to work with as just a schmo off the street. When I have ordered, anytime I ordered anything Paul Reubens, and I've ordered their oil pastels, I've ordered their 12 pan sets. I'll order their stuff when it's on sale, because I'm like, yeah, I want that for a class. And they, reach right out to you. Is everything okay? Is your order good? They don't wait for a problem. So I have to give their customer service and their quality of the products the high marks. And this is their 48 range. You can get that on Amazon. It's very affordable. It's around, I think it's around $72 or $78 for the 48 set. And sometimes there's coupons, so they go on sale. And they're lovely. You will get a little bit of a glossiness if you're using it really thickly. I've seen that in other brands of paint too, but I really don't think you can go wrong with this. The colors that should granulate do. They don't shy away from using the expensive pigments. It's just a really nice quality brand, I think. And they have several lines that I like. In fact, the only lines I've been disappointed with has been their Gusai or Guakai, however you want to pronounce it. tubes and their opaque watercolors. And the problems that I've had with those two sets, they were both the tube sets. The issues I had with those were mainly just a quality control issue where it's like some of the contents pressurized in the tubes, and I go out and unscrew it and kind of have like a little tube explosion, like there were air like pockets under pressure or something in the tube. So the paint itself was fine, but there was some issues I think in the manufacturing of those two tube sets. But their standard watercolors, I have no qualms whatsoever. This was actually their opaque watercolor set. If you're curious about the colors, like I said, I think the paint's fine, but I did have some issues with binder separation and some like pressurization in the pans. But it's definitely more like a gouache. But I'm just keeping them together because they're with my Paul Rubens stuff. This is unfortunately you can't get this one anymore. This is their set of 24 song colors. So they came out with this floral set that was just gorgeous. I'll use that to refill my pans for the colors I would need that for. But they do come out with some really nice collections, but usually, except for the standard colors, those collections, once they're done, they're done. They don't seem to resell them. I'm sure when sales start to slow, maybe they pull the product. I'm not sure. That's when you get the good deals on stuff. This was their original 24 set here. This set here is really fun. It's extremely transparent. It's got a very subtle shimmer. They call it their phosphorescent set. And it comes in a beautiful foam style palette, heavy duty metal palette. And it's just got a little light sparkle, which doesn't detract from anything. They're not opaque at all. They're super transparent and they're just a lot of fun to use. Yeah, again, highly recommend them. This was the bigger swatch of their original 24 colors if you just want to try them out. I think this set's around $40, so certainly not bad. I did get one mislabeled pan. This was when they first came out. This should be a really bright dioxazine violet, and I got this shadow violet. I thought maybe there was just some smudge in there, but after I've seen some other swatches of other sets, I'm pretty sure this is their shadow violet color. And that was my only qualm with that. And this is on Montville paper, so it's a little bit strange. This is their metallic set. The metallics are really nice. They're more expensive than, say, the Superior / Artsy metallics, but they are more shimmery. Whether it's justified the double price, the twice, the heavier price tag, I'm not sure. I only noticed it if I put them side by side, but yeah, the metallics are really nice as well. But I'd recommend the 24 set over the 48 because, I mean, the 24 set has so many. And this is their newer 24 set that comes in the foam style palette. I think I like their original 24 color assortment myself, but I would compare, see what you like better, see what colors you prefer. Honestly, quality wise, I think they're about the same. They do have that pretty cobalt violet color in the new range, and they've just upgraded the packaging. But I think I like the original, and the original actually remind me a lot of Daniel Smith. And I actually put some of the Daniel Smith colors in my original set, and it's upstairs on my fun art desk. So that's how much I like them. Use them for fun. And yeah, and then this right here is their new 36 tube set. It's their 4th generation paints, and I feel like their line has become a little more sophisticated and a little more refined over the years. Just looking at these colors here, again, we've got a nice selection of some granulating colors. We got this beautiful cobalt turquoise. We've got this Indian red that's got a little bit of a granulation to it. We've got just a beautiful assortment of blues and greens, a few reds. I mean, everything is just as you would expect in a fine watercolor. So this is their 36 5 ml tube set, which is I feel like an amazing value. I'm thinking it was around $70 or so. So definitely for 36 artist grade colors, I have no complaints. I really like this line. I think they're doing an amazing job. They're doing God's work out in the watercolor world, offering us some nice quality stuff at a really reasonable price. I know some people don't like to buy Chinese made products, but I've got no qualms with this company and their distributor in the United States. Lightwish, I believe, is their distributor. They're so good whenever you order anything from theirs on Amazon. I don't know if they're the sellers on all platforms, but if you're getting them from Amazon, you're getting them from Lightwish. And it's shipped from Amazon, but the folks there they want to make sure that you're happy. They don't want returns. They want to make it right with you right off the bat if there's any problems, and I got to respect that. All right, next up we have Mission Gold, which may surprise some people. This is a Korean brand, and I just really like their paints. Again, they are a really good value. I would recommend, if you want probably the best deal on these paints, my first pick would say get the set of 24 pure pigments. And this is the old 24 pure pigments. They have replaced a few colors. And I like these so much. I paid $82 for the 24 pure pigments back in 2017, I think, when they first came out. I think that's when I was first aware of them anyway. And they're big F15 ml tubes, great quality, very transparent. And when they came out, they recently went on sale for $61, and I noticed there were like a few new colors there. They replaced us because there's so many reds here. They got a lot of complaints from how many reds were in there, so they took out some reds and put in some other colors. And I think there's like a cobalt green and a cobalt blue, cobalt turquoise, I think. But yeah, they added some different colors and took away some other colors, and still a great selection. And they're $61 last I checked on Amazon. That would be my #1 pick if you want to try Mission Gold, because you can take those pure pigment colors, single pigment colors, and mix a bunch of the other colors that they have in their line. If you didn't want to do that, they have a set that's 36 smaller tubes. I think they're 8 ml, 7 ml, or 8 ml tubes. There's 36 of them, and they come in a pallet. And that is, I think, around $55 on Amazon. So I don't have that set, but that would probably be my next pick, because it's the best. Those two are the best deals. Then they have some bigger pure pigment sets now, and they've got just some different configurations. But I think those are the two really awesome deals to go for with those. And then after Mission Gold, this is actually kind of a tie, because I would consider Mission Gold and this next line to be a tie. And I like both of them. I would say, I think from the sets that I have from Mission Gold, they might be have a little more light, fast colors. So if you're going between the ShinHan and the Mission Gold, I'd probably say Mission Gold Pure Pigment set of 24, go with that one. You actually get 26 colors because there's a white and a black, and they don't count those. Like smaller tubes of those, they don't count them. That would be my pick, but I have to say, I bought the 32 set of ShinHan PWC watercolors, and I wish more stores sold them, because I would pick up some single tubes of these. Blick has them, which is fantastic. They're more expensive than Amazon, but if you got the set on Amazon for, I think it's 81, this fluctuates a lot, because I've seen it anywhere from $81 all the way up to $132 on Amazon. But this is the range that you get. Now you do end up with a couple fugitive colors. Like they've got your PR83 Rose Madder, which is kind of like your alizarin crimson, your traditional alizarin crimson color. So, and you got Crimson Lake here. Those two colors, those are real sketchy. If you're working in a sketchbook, not a big deal. If you are hanging stuff on the wall, you would want to watch out for those colors. And I'm trying to think if there are any others in here. There's controversy about PG8. You see that a lot in like White Knights, Yarka, ShinHan. I think maybe even some Mission Gold might have PG8. That's something you see more. Rosa Gallery, I think, has PG8. It must be really popular over in Asia and Eastern Europe. It's a gorgeous color, but there's some issue with fading on that one. But I think, obviously Opera, that's a fugitive color. But, and that PV3 might be a little bit sketchy. But overall, for even just counting the light fast colors that are in this set, I would say it's worth it. Like Pigment Yellow 1, I would probably avoid that one as well. But even for the colors that you're getting that are light fast, it's certainly a steal. And I really loved using these paints. And a lot of these are not going to be, you look at the swatches like, why do you rate that one higher than the other one? And a lot of it is just like how it feels to work with them, how my style works with these paints, what feels good to paint with. And that's what I'll be going with it. In addition to the swatches are kind of to jog our memories, but it's how I feel working with them. And I loved working with the ShinHan. And I also got their tint set. And man, that's a gorgeous pastel set. If you like pastel convenience watercolors, it's a steal. It's like $32 for 12, 15 ml tubes on Amazon. It's a steal. You can get the individual tubes on Blick though, so if you're not sure and you just want to buy a couple tubes, I would not hesitate to pick up a few. Some art stores are selling these now because they are such a good value, and with inflation and prices on everything going up, if you can offer a good quality tube of paint, that's not exorbitantly expensive, so people don't feel bad using it. It's a good thing. So yeah, look at that granulation on the Ultramarine Blue Deep. Isn't that just stunning? So you can probably just get that tube on Blick, you know. But anyways, that's the ShinHan PWC. I love it. Next up, I have Sennelier. And Sennelier is it's a funny paint. I ordered this from Blick. They had it was called 12+6. That was the name of the set. And so it was an 18 color set in a little box. And it was like $72 or something. Great deal at the time. I've seen it cheaper since then, but great deal at the time. And I ordered it and I used them. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. They're good, but I just didn't love it. Then I took it plein air painting. I took these Sennelier paints out to Acadia National Park. I was sitting out on Sand Beach, and I was painting, and I was painting, and I was painting. And the more I painted, instead of the painting getting overworked, the more I painted, the better the painting looked. It's like you can't overwork a painting with Sennelier. So I would recommend this if you have the tendency to overwork your paintings, or you like to put tons and tons of layers on something. Sennelier is it right out of the box. You're doing a little painting. If you're doing like loose florals, you're gonna be like, meh. You're not going to be crazy about Sennelier paints. If you are doing botanicals where you're going to do a lot of layering, or you're doing plein air work and you have a tendency to overwork or overpaint, give these a try. I think you'll be very happy with them. And watch on Amazon for Sennelier paints, because there's a company on Amazon. It's called like Color Art & Co. or something. They're I don't know where they're out of, but they ship from Amazon. Amazon ships the products. They run great deals on Sennelier products. And I was able to pick up the 12 tube tin of Sennelier paints for like $40, 40 something, 41 or $42 last summer. And yeah, it's great value. Great value. So I would definitely keep your eyes out. And I've seen the 48 set of Sennelier go for like $160 on Amazon. So if you have a problem with overworking your watercolors, just get some Sennelier and you don't even have to change your style, because your work's going to look just fantastic. So this was a surprising one, because at first I was like, meh. And then I was like, well, actually, not a lot of granulation I found in the Sennelier paints. Like, look at this Ultramarine Deep. It's very smooth. So it is really good for botanical artists, because a lot of times you don't want that granulation in your work. You want that really transparent, smooth color. So botanical artists, yeah, give it a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Get a couple tubes, see what you think. And as always, unless you find a really good deal on a set, your best bet is to buy a couple tubes of a brand and see what you think. And all these will work together, you know? You don't have to be brand loyal. Buy a couple tubes of this, a couple tubes of that. I've never found the watercolor that doesn't work with other watercolors. They all work the same. Their pigment, their binder. Most of them are gum arabic and pigment. Sometimes you'll get Aquazol. Even the core paints, I don't see a problem working with those, using those with other paints. They just move a little bit more. They might push the other paints around a little bit because they're going to be more flowy. But they're all going to work together. When you get into the more student grade paints, then you get into different binders like dextrin and things like that. But they're all going to be pretty much the same. And next up, actually, this is one that probably first on most people's list, but it's not on mine. And partially, I think a lot of the reason it's not first on my list, there's a couple reasons. First of all, I mean, I don't feel like ultimate joy when I paint with these paints. They're good, I like them. But I think one of the reasons that irks me about Daniel Smith is it's so much marketing. Like, you go on their website and there's like a romance novel on every single color. You think this paint, you buy this tube of paint and all of your problems are over. It's gonna fix your darn life. You buy a tube of cobalt turquoise from Daniel Smith. You know, I mean, just the claims that are on these paints are a bit much. And then last year it was revealed that their Primatech paints, where they made a big deal of these paints are made from rocks, these paints are made from rocks. All the trade shows, they've got the paints, they got big hunks of rocks on the swatches. Really making a big deal of these. The only place you're going to get these paints are us, because they are made of these rocks and we buy the last minerals and all of this and that. And then it was revealed that they actually boost those colors with your regular pigments that you already have in your stash. And that just really irked me. But putting that aside, Daniel Smith does make a good paint. I prefer their sticks. I don't have too many of them. I only have like 3 of their sticks, but I like their sticks because they're all priced the same, but they re-wet really well. So if you've got those mineral colors, like those Primatech colors that are a pain to re-wet, they re-wet much better from stick form, and they're much cheaper that way. So if a color you want is available in a stick, I would highly recommend you try it. These are not watercolor crayons like a Caran d'Ache you're not going to sketch with them very effectively. They're not fun to sketch with. They're very dry and, I don't know, they're kind of weird. They're not going to put out pigment that way like a crayon would, but as far as like using them like a pan of paint, I slice them off and put them in a pan and stick them in my palette, and they're just ideal for that. They're ready to go. So I really love their sticks. Their essential set is wonderful. It gives you a split primary set of colors. I highly recommend that. You can't go wrong with that. And then I would just pick, be real choosy. Be real choosy with the other colors you pick, in my opinion. But they're a good paint. They're good paint. They're just not top of my list. But they're good. They're good. You can get dot cards too. So if you're not sure, you can buy a dot card. And I think that also irritates me too. They could be the first to come up with a dot card. And it seems like a dot card, that should be something that is free, that is given to customers so they can see what they want to buy and then spend money. But you like selling them this thing so they can try it out and then spend money. I mean, that's like, I don't know, selling samples, that kind of, it's just a little dot of paint. That kind of annoyed me too. Anyway, paint's great. Other parts of it is a little bit sketchy. I don't know. I'm probably being a little too picky. I don't know. Next up would be Winsor Newton. I don't think there's anything wrong with Winsor Newton. They have been a popular brand for years and years and years. There's reason for it. They're very consistent, high quality paint. They used to be made in England. Now they're made in France for their artist quality line, although they are making more and more things in China and their other lines. So, you know, I just would approach this brand with a little bit of caution, because they do outsource, they do ship things to cheaper production facilities in, you know, at least they have. I mean, their watercolor markers used to be made in France, now they're made in China. Their Cotmans used to be made in England, then France, now they're in China. All of the new media they're coming out with, like pencils and pastels and things, those are all made in China and I think maybe Vietnam. I think China. I think they're mostly made in China. So it just kind of seems like they're really riding the coattails of their good name, but I don't think their quality is quite what it was. So this was a 24 pan set, but it was the one I bought in 2017. I paid around $88, I think, for it. Recently, I did order it when I saw it for $40-something, $43 on Amazon, but mine never came and they refunded me. But they have changed some of the colors, like they no longer have Viridian in there. I think they've taken out the cadmiums. Yeah, they changed a few different colors in there, so I was curious because I wanted to get the new one and compare it against this one to see if it was as good. So I can't tell you if they're still as good, but I'm rating this on, you know, old Winsor Newton professional colors. They have a little bijou box, and I love the colors that were in their little bijou box because it was 8 colors and you could mix so many colors with them, and I love that little box. I refill it from tube paints, but yeah, they're a solid brand. I hope that they keep the quality up on their professional watercolors because they are a traditional, delicate watercolor. They're plenty bold. They layer well. A lot of botanical artists like this brand, and they were kind of the first like to offer watercolors in tubes and in pans, as far as I know. And yeah, they're solid. They're solid. Some questionable business practices, just like Daniel Smith, allegedly. I'm going to say allegedly, but yeah, I just kind of see there may be a decline in the brand, so that definitely makes it fall a little bit further down in the list. Next up is Vinci Watercolors, and this is a great company. These are their paints are good, actually. Oh, I don't have it within reach, but I do have some other colors from them, from Denise's Earth Friendly line. And I think Vinci is a real bang for your buck. You can get these large tubes, 37 ml tubes, or like oil paint tube size things of Vinci paint. And when I was teaching classes at the senior center, I would get those big tubes of Vinci paint to refill my students' palettes with, because you just could not beat the value. And I still do. For those colors I use all the time, like burnt sienna or ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, I will buy those big 37 ml tubes. You can get those at Blick. They're very affordable. Like, you could get a 37 ml tube for the price of a lot of other brands 15 ml tubes. So they're so good if you're a teacher. If you are, you know, you probably want to stick to those big tubes for stuff you really use up, or for teaching. But they now offer a smaller tube. They offer the 15 ml and 8 ml, I believe, in their paints. So you can get smaller tubes of it, USA made. I believe they make the American Journey watercolors from Cheap Joe's as well. So they're solid. they're solid. Like if I was to want to make my own line of paints, like Lindsay Weirich's custom palette, I would probably reach out to Da Vinci for them to private label it for me. That, you know, that's how much I do respect and like this brand. Do I think the quality is as good as M. Graham? I think these are good, and I haven't tried every color, so it's really hard to say, but I do think they're a real solid brand. I think the value is great. I probably should have ranked these higher, to be honest. I don't find that I think they're really good workhorses, but I think the thing is maybe they just don't excite me. They have the excitement level of Winsor Newton for me, but I think the company is a little bit, maybe a little bit more reputable. I don't know. They're a newer company. It's hard to say. They haven't had time to tarnish their reputation yet. I don't know. They're a good company is what I'm saying. But I don't see that aggressive granulation in colors. I don't see, I just don't feel as excited to use it. But for my workhorse colors, yeah, they're great. They're fine. I probably should have ranked them higher. I have nothing wrong. Da Vinci's a good brand. I would say Winsor Newton quality. The next one is Maimeri Blu, and I have to say that part of the reason I rank these as high as I do is because I have old Maimeri Blu tubes of watercolor that I really like, and their Potter's Pink tube is unreal. I would say if you need to get Potter's Pink and you want it in a tube, get Maimeri Blu. I wanted to buy Winsor Newton a full pan of Potter's Pink, but I couldn't find it in the United States. Jackson's might have it, but I didn't have anything else to order from them. But I would love to be, and I don't even know if they make it in a full pan, but I would like to get a full pan of Winsor Newton's Potter's Pink, just because I like to use big brushes. I like to use that for mixes in sand and sky when I'm doing seascapes on location. It's such a great neutralizer for blues, like neutralizer for a cerulean and whatnot. It's just a gorgeous texture, great for sand. Their Potter's Pink is unreal. It's gorgeous, and I think it's a really affordable Potter's Pink. I think I got mine at Jerry's Artorama, and I think I paid about $12 for a 14 ml tube. I thought that was a great deal for that. This was a weird little set. My friend Ophelia sent it to me because she had a double, and the colors were good. There was this weird green earth here that was very, very weak, but other than that, I thought the colors were fine. But it was a very strange assortment. But I do have some more commonly used colors of Maimeri Blu that are extremely vibrant, gorgeous to work with. I bought them out of the back of an artist magazine back in the late 90s. And I know they've changed formulation now. I think mostly they offer single pigment colors now. I don't think they're offering convenience colors. I think it's all single pigments from them. So they definitely have picked a direction and gone in it, and I respect that. And I think they're a good paint. Actually, I should rank them higher than Winsor Newton, I think. That green earth, that was so hard to re-wet though. That was a real bummer. But I haven't had any issue re-wetting the Potter's Pink that was from the tube that I've dried down. And Potter's Pink can be a real pain of a color. That's why I want to buy it in a pan form. But I should see if Daniel Smith has a stick of it, because I think when you can buy a color that's hard to re-wet in a pan form, it's usually easier to re-wet than buying it from the tube and letting it dry down. So that's just my reasoning behind that. But Maimeri Blu, I think it's good. It's all over the place. It can be really expensive or it can be really affordable. It's kind of, you gotta play it by ear. I would say if you find a decent deal on it, or try the Potter's Pink. That's definitely one to get from the brand. And I don't have this swatched here because, you know, I couldn't have been bothered apparently. I'd already reviewed it when I bought the Potter's Pink. A lot of times I don't really go back to my swatches. I make a swatch to go inside my tin. That's one I refer to. This is just kind of for my review purposes when I first review a product. After that, next up would be Schmincke. Now, Schmincke, I kind of almost want to split my Schmincke review because I would say I'm kind of Schmincke. Oh, Schmincke. What will I do with you, Schmincke? Okay, so these are the Schmincke tubes I have. Gorgeous, vibrant, beautiful colors. They're just wonderful, aren't they? They're wonderful. Got some beautiful granulation in that cobalt blue deep. Beautiful, beautiful colors. And then I purchased and these were tubes that were sent to me. I think they were from the company via a viewer. I think a viewer reached out to the company and asked, say, there's this YouTuber I love. I'd love to have her try Schmincke paints, and then they sent her the paints and she sent them to me. I believe that's how that all went down. But gorgeous, gorgeous paints. So then I purchased the little whiskey painters box with Schmincke paints in it, and these are the colors that I got. And I'm like, what? these feel so weak in comparison to the tube paints that I tried years before. And this is the Horadam, the Horadam Acryl, which is the artist grade paint. I was so disappointed in these paints that I bought, and I paid like $80-something for the set of 8 paints because of the palette that I came in. Let's be honest, the palette's stinking cute. It's got a little flask attached to it, and it's got a little cup that you put on the end. Oh, I have a review on it. You'll have to check it out if you're curious. The palette's gorgeous. Anyway, yeah, so probably like $70 of that purchase was for the palette. I was just disappointed. I was disappointed in that. I mean, here, I guess down the middle, you can see where I layered it up and I got a more decent color, but I was so disappointed. And this is cotton paper here. So that's what's in their Whiskey Painters set of 8. Was not loving it. Not as much as the original tubes that I got. So maybe their tubes are different quality, or maybe they've declined in quality over the last few years. I don't know, because these were probably like 8 years previous when I got that. I mean, look at the mixes. So gorgeous. I mean, this is old swatching Lindsay. This isn't my, you know, how I used to swatch colors, and I swatch them like this now. But yeah, such a difference. And I was so disappointed. And I actually ended up putting some of these tube paints into that palette. And also, the other thing that I didn't like about these, and in that little portable, I don't know how, they want to run, they want to slide out of their paints and like get sticky, and it's really a bummer because they were expensive and they're in a travel palette, and if I have that travel palette, I have to keep it flat. If I have it like in a bag on its end, the paints want to ooze into the next paint, so I don't get that. So it's why I wouldn't use my M. Grahams in a travel palette, because they're too, or Mission Gold, they're too sticky. They want to travel. They want to travel, but not in the way I want them to travel. Now, on the other hand, and this is why I say I kind of want to split the Schmincke review, is because their super granulating paints, 5 out of 5 stars. Those are beautiful. I would put those, if it was a special effects category, I would put those at the top of the list for special effects granulating paints. Schmincke Horadam super granulating paints would get the top spot. I would rate them over my homemade granulating palette that I made. I'd rate them over, you know, the random tubes that I buy, because they did this really well. Look at that. They did such a good job at this. But their regular colors, I was just really felt they were lackluster. I was very disappointed in that set of 8 that I purchased. And I do have my other granulating colors in here. I mean, but then again, look at this. And we're gonna look at Turner in a little bit, but these are some Turner colors that I bought from Jerry's Artorama. They were a steal. They were like, I don't know, between $5 and $7 a tube. Look at how those granulated. Mars Black, look at that. Look at that ultramarine blue. I think this is deep. Ultramarine blue deep from Turner. Look at these Mars Violet and Cobalt Violet. That's not Mars Violet. That's Mars Violet. Cobalt Violet. Mineral Violet. And Benzonidine Brown. I mean, and those are cheap. Those are cheap, and those are gorgeous. So, I mean, yeah, the granulating colors from Turner, and they're not sold as granulating colors, you just have to know they granulate. Those would, you know, those and the Schmincke super granulatings would be at the top of the list. Turner would get some marks just because they're so cheap, or so affordable, I should say. But yeah, Schmincke, you did well with super granulating, you did well with those original tubes, but the half pans, the Horadam half pans, I was just so disappointed. So disappointed. I almost bought the set of 48 half pans from Jackson's, but for some reason it wasn't letting me check out. I think it was probably because I was trying to order some big sheets of paper while I was at it. Alright, so put those Schminckes there. And then up next we have, we actually have a couple that I'm going to call the same. We've got Yarka, and we've got White Knights. And actually, Yarka used to have these tube sets of student grade paints that were gorgeous. And they used that funny PG-8. But yeah, actually this is their artist grade tubes, I think. This was their student grade tubes, which were just beautiful. I had other colors too, but I've used them up. This was a long time ago, from the 90s. Their student grade line was just stunning. But anyways, this is, we've got Yarka and we've got White Knights. The same paint. They're just two different trade names owned by the St. Petersburg company, or Neviska Palitra. I don't speak Russian. But they're available in tubes and full pans. I recommend the full pans over the tubes. I think the tubes are kind of disappointing, honestly. But their full pans are quite nice. And they have also been transitioning to using only light fast colors. So they used to find some sketchy colors in this range, like the PG8 and whatnot. But they're transitioning to all light fast colors, or mostly light fast colors, as far as I know. And this color here, this sequel set, I bought this from Consumer Crafts. I paid $40 for it. It was a great deal. I wanted it because I had the original Yarka St. Petersburg palette from late 90s, and I mean, there's some really interesting colors. Like, I'm sure this one was on the chopping block. This one, Blue Lake, this is like a PB1, which is Victoria Blue. You just don't see it. It's stunning. It's a gorgeous color. I am sure it is fugitive. It's all get out, but man, oh man, look at it. It's like an ultraviolet color. It's just so gorgeous. Look at that azure. Isn't that just stunning? Stunning. Lots of mixes in here, though, but beautiful paints. Whole pan's better than the tubes, in my opinion, but gorgeous, gorgeous paints. Actually, I probably would rate these higher if they were a little easier to find. I don't think the quality is as good. They're not quite as pigmented. They're just not quite as high quality as the I'd say the more legacy companies that I've showed you already, but they're good for the price. It's hard to beat. But if you were going to beat them for the price, you'd beat them with Rosa Gallery. These are a steal. I picked this up on Amazon on a whim. It was like $15 for 12 full pans of watercolors. I think this was last summer, or maybe the summer before. And these are the colors that came in it, and I was like, man, if I was teaching a class, this would be such a great. I paid $15.90 on July 2021. I'd be like, oh, buy this. This is a great, because you've got split primer. You've got a cool and a warm yellow. You've got a cool and a warm red. You've got a cool and a warm blue. You've got some convenience colors. My only qualms with this set was the browns. I wish there was a warmer, more vibrant browns. Like, oh, that's the other thing. White Knights, Yarka, Rosa, I found their browns, their earth tones, to be a little underwhelming. I also find Winsor Newton's browns to be underwhelming. So that's probably why in my gut I rate them a little bit lower than some other brands. So I like these so much that I bought their modern set because there was beautiful cobalt teal, there was a beautiful magenta in there, and there were like 7 duplicates between the modern color set and this color set. So I just took those 7 out and I combined this into the set that was that I purchased because it was in a nice big tin and I could fit them all in there. And yeah, they're a great deal. This is a company out of the Ukraine, and they are just fantastic. White Knights, Yarka, they're a Russian company. I think I mentioned that. But these are out of the Ukraine. High quality. They also offer tubes. I have not used their tubes, but their pans are great. I can't recommend them highly enough. They have a set of 24. These are in a cardboard box. They have a set of 24 that's also in a cardboard box, and it's like $30. Their artist grade and student grade are like the same price, so I would just go for the artist grade. Or they might be a couple bucks more, but yeah, their Rosa Gallery is the artist grade set. And yeah, the only qualm I would have also is that their matter red here, that's kind of like a bloody red. I almost wished it was more of like a rose, because that would give you a better mixing option. But yeah, you can't beat it. Rosa Gallery. These are some mixes. These are the mixes I did with that set of 12. You can see we're lacking on the really vibrant pinks and purples because of the cool red is not really quite cool enough, in my opinion. Overall, though, just stunning. Stunning. You can't beat it. You can't beat it for that price. The next one, I would say, the next one down on the list would be a specialty paint. And not a specialty paint. They have both. Supervision. I think Supervision is doing some exciting things. They're a Chinese company, and I think they're somehow involved with like the Chinese educational system. Chinese something, I think they're like maybe the official art materials company or something like that. But this is their 24 half pan set that comes in a really kind of stylish palette that's not very practical, to be honest, but it's this bamboo palette. It's really cute. But I found the paints to be pretty good. The quality is not as good as Paul Reubens, in my opinion, or some of the other or all the other paints I've shown you so far, but I do think they're pretty good. For the money, I think they're a decent product. You can get these cheaper on AliExpress versus Amazon, so if you're comfortable shopping with AliExpress and you want to try these paints, that would be my recommendation. They also have some really interesting sets out there. They've got sets that are mica plus rock, and so they have all these specialty kind of whimsical sets that have granulating colors and mica, or minerally granulating colors mixed with dyes. Some of them are fugitive, like this was a set of 10 from Amazon, and they're gorgeous, but you have to be careful because the colors can change in the tubes. They're very unstable, but they are kind of fun. You just got to use them up quick. And yeah, I probably wouldn't go hang them anywhere that they could fade. Like I've heard this color completely, the red completely bleaches out of it. So it's very, very strange. They've improved with this new range that they came out with. I'm going to put it this way so it fits the screen better. These are sold in 3 color sets. And I think the sets are about $25. So you're paying about $8. For each 15 ml tube, which isn't bad. But I think they also have a set that is all of the colors, but I haven't seen it on Amazon. It's probably available on AliExpress, and the tubes might be smaller. But I thought these were really interesting. They were a lot of fun. Not quite as good as the Schmincke super granulating colors, but a better, a less expensive option. And they did go with more stable colors. Like you're not seeing those weird ones that are here that are going to fade out on you, which is really nice. I think I didn't see as many problematic colors in this range, but I have a really in-depth review on this. If you're considering buying these, I would watch the review first, know what you're getting into, know what the risks are with this paint, and then decide whether you want to buy them. And the risks, I mean, like, are they going to fade out on you or whatnot? What are they good for? Some uses, some practical uses of these. I have a lot of samples in that, so watch that review if you're curious about it. In fact, I got reviews on all these if you're curious. But yeah, Supervision, I think they're one to watch. I think that over the past few years, they've come out with some really interesting stuff. And I kind of think that they might be private labeling some other granulating paint companies that are popular. I can't prove it because I haven't seen a tube of the other paint to compare, but I think they may be private labeling for a very popular Canadian watercolor granulating brand. But I can't prove it, so if anybody has that popular Canadian granulating brand and wants to send me a message, I'd be very interested to chit-chat. Next up would be Holbein. And I don't have anything wrong with Holbein. Actually, I would kind of rate them close to like the ShinHan and Mission Gold. However, I just wasn't as excited painting with Holbein as I was with the ShinHan and Mission Gold for some reason. Just the feeling of painting with the paints, the process. I did not like the Holbein as much as the ShinHan. I don't think they're all that different, to be honest, but the Holbein just didn't excite me as much as the ShinHan. And Holbein's gotten very expensive, so for value-wise, these definitely do not compare. These used to be a really good deal on Amazon. I bought the set of 18 for like $32. Granted, they're small tubes, but still. I bought them to review because people had said really great things about them, and I had an instructor who would buy Holbein because it was way cheaper, but that's not the case anymore. And there's a lot of mixes here, and I didn't really like that. So maybe if I went and bought some open stock tubes and just got the colors I wanted, I'd have a different opinion. I think they're fine. I don't think they're worth the current price that they're asking for these now. But yeah, and kind of equivalent to Holbein, I would put Turner watercolors. And I know some people would disagree with this, but I really like the Turner watercolors. Let's see, these are Turner as well. I think they're consistent. I think they're a great value. Jerry's sells them for, sometimes they go on sale. I bought them for as low as $4 a tube before on Jerry's. But even regular price, I think they're around $6 to $10 for a 15 ml tube. Granted, their 15 ml tubes of Turner don't feel as full as 15 ml tubes of other brands, so I don't know. Maybe there's some air bubbles, so maybe the value's not as good as I think. But those granulating colors I just showed you were Turner's, the ones that I said that, you know, the Ultramarine Blue Deep and the Cobalt Cobalt Violet and Mineral Violet and Mars Violet and Mars Black. I mean, they have some really good ones and so cheap. They have an 18 color set that's very affordable to try, but it's got some Maya colors that are very disappointing. So I think I would just go buy some tubes, buy a few tubes of colors you know you like, or colors you want to try that you maybe don't want to splash out Daniel Smith prices for. But I think it's a really good, solid brand, and I personally liked them better than Holbein. And they're a Japanese brand as well as Holbein, so that's probably where some of the similarities in feel come from. Holbein feels like there's more pigment. It almost feels like there's more pigment in Holbein. It feels like it's a more sheer paint, maybe. Turner feels like it might have a little bit more, maybe some extenders or something in it. It feels a little bit more viscous than Holbein. That's nitpicking. They're very similar. But there you go. That's my opinion anyway. And what is this on this side? Is this... because this used to be in a binder, so sometimes I use both sides. This was Lukas 1862. I bought the set of 48 on Jerry's Artorama probably 7 or 8 years ago. I paid $114 for it. I thought that was a great deal for 48 colors. I think I bought that before I bought the Rembrandt, so maybe it was more like eight years ago. I splurged on that, and I just couldn't resist at that price, and I really liked them. And I have used up, or used way down, a lot of these colors, like the green gold, the cobalt turquoise, the ultramarine deep. I mean, I love the earth tones. Lukas does some really beautiful earth tones. And overall, I really like this brand. About 2 years ago, this brand was bought by Daler Rowney. I believe it's Daler Rowney. And I ordered this cobalt turquoise last summer to refill my pan, because my pan was empty, and or really close to it. And what I got was not this color. I got one made with PG 28, even though the listing on Jerry said PG 50. The color was chalky. It didn't have those beautiful cobalt turquoise undertones. It was just very blah and chalky and just not good. So I contacted Jerry's. They refunded my money, no questions asked. They didn't even ask for me to send them back the tube. I showed the picture of the tube with the pigment information. I'm like, the pigment information has changed. You know, you might want to look and see if they've changed anything else since the new owners bought the company, because I like this brand. I thought it was a really good workhorse brand, an affordable brand, really great for portraits. I loved the Lukas paints for portraits. This is the 24 set here, and when I'm doing portraits, I would just grab this because I could mix up the most beautiful skin tones from this. Just really delicate, really kind of vintage looking, not the most transparent. I will tell you that. Lukas is just not the most transparent brand of watercolors, but like that cobalt turquoise, the new one was just like, when I painted it over a strip black, it was just milky. It was chalky and milky and gross. So I actually gave this set to one of my friends that was getting into watercolor, and I told her, when you run out of a color, let me know. I'll fill it up from tube for you, because I don't trust the new Lukas tubes or pans. Honestly, I don't. If I could buy a pan of this and know I was getting PG 50 and I was getting the old one, I'd get a full pan of it right now, but there's no guarantee. And that really, unless I wonder if I could call, like, can you just read the pan for me and tell me, and I'll take them, like, I'll take all you have. I'll buy them all. But yeah, this would rate higher if it wasn't for the fact that I bought a new tube and the quality was down, and I can't trust recommending the brand anymore, because the ultramarine blue deep, it's such a great color. Yeah, sadly, I think this brand is undergoing a change, and I don't like it. But you can let me know if you have recently bought some tubes or pans, open stock of Lukas paints. Let me know how they are, and I would love to know, especially if you can compare them to the old ones. This next one, and this is another one I kind of split. I have gone back and forth on this brand. This is Renaissance. It's a Polish handmade watercolor. It's a Polish. They call it handmade watercolor, but it is more of like a factory situation. I've got this set. How many years ago was it? It was before I started making sure I put the black lines before I swatched. They're half pans. They look like little chalk nuggets, and I was like, oh no, what have I got myself into here? But they re-wet so aggressively. They were beautiful to work with. Gorgeous if you like to do like loose florals. They're just ready to go. Wet brush, they're ready to go. They say they have honey in it, but they're a very dry paint. Like, they don't ooze or anything, so it's very unique. It's a very interesting formulation. I haven't quite come across it before. So I really liked their half pans, and so this was a set of 24 that's on the outskirts, and then I got some open stock colors to put in there with it. You got some granulating colors, you got some smooth sheer ones. Yeah, I thought it was pretty standard, very affordable. And these actually, I do have to disclose, my friend April owns the Etsy shop A Little Creative, and she imports those. She's the American distributor for this paint, and she's super nice. She's such a nice woman. So, you know, I'm trying not to let that cloud my judgment of the paints. But it's just comparatively, I would rate these higher than Lukas now, honestly, just because of the changes in Lukas. Now, their tubes I felt were more transparent, but there was also some glossy binder issues that I didn't like with it. It's almost like the pans didn't have any gloss to them. They weren't chalky, but there's like no gloss to the paints in the pans, but the tubes, they have this almost shine to them when you swatch them out with any sort of mass tone. Not bad paints, but definitely because of the because of the inconsistency from tube to tube and from pan to tube, I rated them lower, but I would put them higher than Lukas now that I'm thinking about it. Not bad, good for the price. Try them, try a couple tubes, see what you think. There are some colors I would rank higher over others. Let me see if I have my, all right, with Renaissance, if you're going to buy a couple tubes, I would say I would avoid the Potter's Pink, because you see how shiny that is? This is what we're talking about. Some of the colors get this kind of like, this kind of shine to them. So I would avoid the Potter's Pink. It's very hard to re-wet. Instead, get the Maimeri Blu Potter's Pink. But they had some really interesting paints that I think are definitely worth a try. They have this color called Cadmium Bordeaux, PR108, gorgeous granulation in this really deep violety red color. They have a Manganese Violet, has a gorgeous granulation. They have Ultramarine Violet with some gorgeous pigmentation and granulation. And there's no gloss in these, which is really, really nice. That's a Schmincke tube, Cobalt Blue Deep. Isn't that gorgeous? Let me see what some other ones. Oh, this is another one. I like the Cobalt Green Pale, but you can see you've got that glossiness to it that's kind of weird. Renaissance Van Dyke Brown is very granulating and gorgeous. It's made with PB15, which is weird, PR48:4, PR101, and PBK11. We also have Renaissance Mars Black, which is a warmer Mars Black than, say, the Turner Mars Black. So this is kind of brown undertones, whereas the Turner has more cooler undertones. And Renaissance has a liquid charcoal watercolor. It's PBK8, and it's gorgeously granulating as well. So it's kind of tricky. It's order a couple tubes, see what you think. Would be my advice. I would not order the Potter's Pink because it's just so it's really weak. Although I think part of it is a binder separation issue, because when I squeezed out the whole tube and I found all this gorgeous pigment at the end. So maybe take a toothpick and stir it around if you have some of these paints. It's just that the inconsistencies bother me, just like in the tube opaque Paul Rubens watercolors and the Guakai watercolors that they did in tubes, that binder separation. I have a hard time recommending a paint that's doing that, because I just wonder what other things could be up with this paint. So I don't like to recommend paints with a lot of variables for people unless they really know what they're getting into. Like if you find a great sale and you want to try a paint, just go in it knowing with your eyes open. I think that also with the Renaissance tubes, I think they're probably better off worked fresh from the tube. I don't think you're going to have any issues if you go fresh from the tube. I think it's sitting in pans. I did notice that they were maybe a little harder to re-wet than some other brands. I'm being kind of picky. I put Renaissance higher than Lukas though. But anyways, that's just me nitpicking. I don't know. It's opinions. It's opinions. But no qualms whatsoever ordering from a little creative, because April's a doll. She's absolute doll. I would go for the pans personally. First I liked the tube. When I first used the tubes, I liked the tubes more, but after they set and hardened in the palette, I kind of was like, ooh, some of these are a little harder to re-wet. And last, I don't say last but not least, but last but least, I would rank the, actually this one and another one, which I don't have a full swatch for, I would rank in the bottom of the artist grade paints that I have, I would rank Tri-Art and also Utrecht watercolors. And actually, you know what? When I'm thinking about the Utrecht and the Tri-Arts, they're very similar. I do think that Utrecht probably has some real winners. Like their Cobalt Turquoise was great. I would get that to, maybe I should get that to refill my my Lukas Cobalt Turquoise. But I don't know, I found them, and maybe it's because I was both of these paints I was sent from viewers, and I'm so grateful. It was so nice, which makes me want to rate them a little higher because they were sent from viewers, but they were already dried down in pans, and I don't know, they kind of, some of them kind of want to crack and crumble. The Tri-Art just, it didn't spark joy, and the Utrecht kind of too just didn't really spark joy as much as I'd use it and enjoy it, and you know, painting even not with the best watercolors is still better than not painting, or painting with, you know, these are all artist grade watercolors. There's nothing quote unquote wrong with them. But as far as in this range of paints that I've been going with, I would rank the Tri-Art and the Utrecht as my least favorite. out of the group. They just didn't sing. There's nothing essentially wrong with them, but they just didn't, there was no little like, ooh, you know, like I love a line of watercolors where I get a little surprise, I get a little spark of joy, I get that little bit of a, ooh, that's fun, that's exciting, that makes me want to paint more. And I just didn't feel it with the TriArts or the Utrecht watercolors. But not to say they're bad. Find them on a yard sale, you want to try them, you know, hey, go for it. But they did not, they didn't wow me for whatever reason. But again, this is all subjective. And let me know what your favorite watercolors are in the comments below. If you want to disagree with me, go ahead. Go ahead, let's have some discourse. Tell me, here's what I want to know. Tell me what is your favorite watercolor, and I'll know who watched to the end. That's so great about this, because if you answer this question, I'll know you watched to the end. You're my super duper fans. What's your favorite watercolor, and why do you like that brand best? And I bet every one of these brands I've told you about today and other brands that I haven't tried, we're going to have, if we have 100 people leaving a comment, we're going to have 100 different answers of what your favorite watercolor is. And I will say there are other brands that might be kind of like on the cusp of, are they professional or are they student grade? For instance, the Gansai Tanby paints. I didn't categorize them as a professional watercolor because they are kind of a different animal. They are more of a, they're not a traditional Western watercolor. These are all Western watercolors. They could be even called student grade, but I think there's just a totally different binder in them. Same thing with the Guakai or Gusai, Paul Reubens paints, and the opaque watercolors. They're just a different thing, so I didn't include them here. I didn't include the Mungyo or the Prima watercolors because I consider those to be more student grade paints, even though they are called artist grade or artist quality. I didn't include any of the superior watercolors because I consider those to be student grade as well. But if you have a brand that I didn't mention and you want to tell me about it, you want to tell me what your favorite is and why, you want to disagree with something I've said, please do. Keep it civil. I don't want fighting. I don't want anybody attacking anybody else. I don't want somebody saying something and then just being nasty to somebody else. I don't want that. I know I said some controversial things about Daniel Smith, and I'm sure I'll hear about it. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's be informed, because videos like this are meant to inform people so they can spend their money wisely. I don't know if I'll put links to any of these things because, quite frankly, that's a lot of work. Maybe I will. We'll see. But my recommendations for shopping, I check Blick and I check Amazon if the price is the same, or if the price is the same or less on Blick, I go with Blick. Even if the price is a little bit more, I might still go with Blick because their shipping is so reliable and so good, and I always have a list going of things I need there, and overall I generally get a better deal at Blick, unless it's big sets. Big sets tend to be cheaper on Amazon, so maybe I could put them all in like a category on Amazon and just link to that. I don't know. But I'd be curious to see what you think in the comments below. And keep in mind, you don't need to buy a set of watercolors. You don't need to be loyal to one brand. Buy a little from this brand, buy a little from that brand. Make your custom ideal palette. I tend to use a set of watercolors when I'm doing tutorials because it's convenient for somebody jumps in and they watch a beginner birch tree painting watercolor tutorial for me and they want to go buy the supplies. And if I have a list of 25, well, I only use about 5 colors in any given painting anyway, but if I had a list of 5 different brands, that might be overwhelming. If I have 1 tin of watercolors I'm using, that's a little bit less overwhelming for someone to just go and grab. Makes it easier for me just to link to things as well, but and it's kind of fun. Each paint has its own personality, so I would just grab a paint. But I'm going to tell you, actually, I'm going to show you what I used before I did YouTube. Well, I mean, I had my M. Graham palette. I'll show you that too. So this is my M. Graham palette. Look, it's so sketchy looking right now because, like, the palette has started to crumble and, like, break apart, so I used duct tape to reinforce it. So this is my M. Graham palette. I need to refill a few of the colors, but I'm also kind of thinking, do I want to upgrade my palette because it's getting kind of brittle? I don't know. Actually, the bottom part's fine because it's been away from the sun. It's the sunlight that makes the plastics yellow and brittle. But I've added this phthalo blue red shade from M. Graham, which honestly, don't waste your money. It's not that much different from phthalo blue. And Mars Violet or Mineral Violet. I think it's Mineral Violet actually. So I added those 2 colors. Since I did that swatch, but yeah, that's my M. Graham. I've had that one since like late 90s, I think. Then, since before websites, maybe, was there a website on this? Yeah, there's like no website on this. I've had this since before websites were a thing. Not quite that long, quite a ways though. This is what I used to use. Oh, and this is my custom granulating palette I made before Rosie shared her Schmincke granulating colors with me. And I just could set this inside of the Pike palette or the Engram palette. But this was actually a secondhand palette. It's got, I don't even know what brands are in here. I know I have some Da Vinci because I would teach with this palette and I would just kind of top off my colors. But I mean, look at this sketchy mess that I have here. It's fun to paint with though because I never know. I don't know what brands I'm getting. They all have a little bit different personalities to them and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, this is what, if I wasn't doing YouTube, I'd be working out some janky, sketchy thing like this and happy as a lark, let me tell you. So yeah, that's what I also want to say. Don't compare your stash, what you have for paints, with somebody on the internet, for goodness sake. That is unrealistic. A lot of this stuff I get sent for free. I mean, I did tell you what I paid for things that I bought, but I also get a lot of things for free. And don't compare what you're spending your hard-earned dollars on with what you see online, because I can guarantee what you're seeing in most of the studios for artists and crafters on YouTube have been given to them, and they're earning money on promoting. If I put some links in the video description, yeah, it's helpful for you, but it's not completely altruistic. I'm going to earn a commission on that if you buy something. So always remember that. Remember that. If I link to these Engram watercolors over at Blick, I'm going to make some money on that if you purchase them, just like every other YouTuber. So don't compare, don't feel like you have to have something because somebody else has it. I try to not oversell anything, overpromise anything, because I don't know, okay, this is a brief aside. The watercolor content's over here. I was going to talk, let's keep it real. So I keep seeing ads for skincare stuff and cosmetic procedures and cosmetic surgeries and things like that, and it's like, I don't think I've searched for these things. Why am I seeing these ads? I'm seeing ads for girdles, I'm seeing ads for shapewear, I'm seeing ads for all these things that pick at our insecurities. And I'll be damned if I'm gonna make another woman feel bad that they don't have the watercolors that I have, because I will not. You can use Crayola watercolors and follow my tutorials. You can use Prang. I'd do Prang over Crayola, to be honest. Same price, way better paint. You can use whatever you have. And if you have a set of decent watercolors, you don't need another set of decent watercolors. You just don't. You just don't. It's not going to make you a better painter. Just like me buying that, you know, fancy cream that I saw, that I probably have coming to my door today because I am a sucker. Just like that fancy cream isn't going to erase my wrinkles. It's not going to make me look 25 years younger. That this set of paints is not going to make you paint 25 times better. No, practice will do that. Getting to know your materials and what they will do that. Obviously start off with something good. That's why I have this ranking here. I mean, to maybe help you choose something right the first time. But my gosh, don't go down that road of I've got to keep up with all of these other artists online. Please, please, because you know what's going to happen 50 years from now when, you know, the good Lord calls you home? That stuff's going to be in a dumpster in your front yard. You know? I mean, your family's going to hire a dumpster, and that's where your stuff's going to go if you haven't used it up yet. So don't collect more than you can use. I know I am the pot calling the kettle black over here, but I want to help you avoid that heartache. Even if you started off with the paints that I put on the lower end of my, these are all good paints. Even if you're like, oh, I bought the Tri-Art watercolors. That's fine. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. Use them. You're going to be a better paint. Use them up. And then buy something else that you want to try. Use them up. And then when you go to that next paint, you're going to be like, wow, I've really improved. You know, there's nothing wrong with those paints. Buy what you are comfortable using, what you can afford and what you're comfortable using. Using the paints are going to make you a better painter. Buying the paints or not. Me taking care of my skin and religiously applying those moisturizers is going to put my skin in better condition. Me buying this, you know, fancy smancy thing I saw on Facebook and using it 2 times before I realize it irritates my skin and I get rid of it, that's not going to. Or I save it because it was so expensive, I'm too afraid to use it, that's not going to improve my skin. Same thing with your watercolor. So I just want to make sure this video is not making anyone feel insecure about what they have. Please, you know, use what you have. Don't feel bad that you don't have something somebody else has, because, you know, it's all going to end up in a dumpster when we're dead if we don't use it anyway. So use your stuff and enjoy it, and don't let it sit on a shelf. Love you guys. Take care. And till next time, happy crafting. Bye.